Hey everyone, my name is Abhishek and today we are going to create this 3D subscribe and like animation in Blender. This is very easy to create and you will learn so many things. So let's begin. Alright, so right now I'm in Blender and before we begin, at this corner you will be able to see all the keyboard shortcuts that I'm pressing in case I forget to mention anything. So now let's begin. So first I'm going to select everything by pressing A, then X to delete everything. Now let's add our text. So in order to do that, press Shift A, let's add a text. Now you can press Tab to go into the edit mode and you can type whatever you want. I'm going to type subscribe, then press Tab again to get out of the edit mode. Now let's change a couple of the properties. So in order to do that, you can go under the text tab. And from here, first I'm going to align it to the center, just like this. Now we can change the font. So in order to do that, just go under the font and you can pick whatever font you want. Perfect. So once you have your text, you can add some depth. So in order to do that, just go under the geometry and from here you can extrude it. You can hold down the shift key to do it precisely and it's completely up to you. You can just extrude it however you want. For this one, I'm going to just extrude it something like this. So once you're done with this, you can also add a little bit of bevel. So in order to do that, just select this. And again, you can hold down the shift key and just increase the bevel depth a little bit. Don't overdo this, otherwise it will be inflated too much. And let's pick and just set it to somewhere around here so that we have these very nice highlighted edges. And let me just quickly lower this down. If you want, you can increase the number of resolution. Let's set this to 4 for now. So here we have our text. Now let's quickly add the base. So in order to do that, I'm going to press Shift A. Let's go to the mesh and I'm going to add a cube. Now I'm going to select the text and let's press G, Z and let's move this to the top. Now let's go to the top view. So in order to do that, you can either press numpad 7 on the keyboard or you can just click on this Z button, something like this, and it will go to the top. Now we can select the box and let's press SX and let's extrude it along the X-axis. And you can pick whatever scale you want. Let's scale this to something like this and let's press SY and I'm going to just scale this down a little bit so that it fits our text just like this. Now we have to decrease the depth as well. So let's press SZ and I'm going to just scale this down to something like this. Once you're done with this, we can press numpad 1 and let's select this, press G, Z and I'm going to just place it on top of this. So let's zoom in. Let's press G, Z and just do it precisely so that this is barely on top of each other. So here you can see we have placed the text. Now let's add some bevel to the cube. So in order to do that, first I'm going to select the cube. Now you can press Ctrl A and let's apply all the transformation. Now let's bevel this out. So in order to do that, you can select the cube, press Tab to go into the edit mode and make sure that everything is selected. If it is not, then press A, then everything will be selected. Now you can press Ctrl B and you can just move your mouse and you can see that it will start beveling the edges and you can just bevel it however you want. Now if you want to add more resolution, then you can use the mouse scroll wheel to smooth out the edges, something like this, but this is completely up to you. Here you can see we have added some really nice bevel. Once you're done with this, you can press Tab again to get out of it. Now here we have our text and the button. Now let's add an empty to control this. So in order to do that, press Shift A. Let's go to the empty and for this one, I'm going to create a sphere. Now let's parent everything to this empty. So in order to do that, just select the base, hold down the Shift key, then select the text and at last just click on this empty. Now you can press Ctrl P and just select Object Keep Transform. Now you can see that it has been parented to the empty. Now you can just select the object or empty and you can just move it however you want and all the text and base will move along with it, which is exactly what we want. Now let's quickly rotate this along the X-axis. So I'm going to select this, press R, X 90 degree. So before we proceed, a lot of you watching right now have not subscribed to my channel and I want you to please do that because I want to hit 100k subscribers this year on my channel. So make sure to subscribe and press the bell icon. So let's continue. So now we have our text and button facing to the front side. Let me just quickly add a camera. So in order to do that, press Shift A and let's add a camera. Now you can press numpad 0 to get inside the camera. Then let's press N to open up the transform menu and from here I'm going to set the X value to 90. Rest of both these values I'm going to set them to 0. Now you can move it along the y-axis, something like this, so that this is inside the frame, just like that. So this is going to be our final camera position. Now we can just simply move around and we can animate this. But first let's create our cursor as well. So for that I'm going to just simply select everything. Then you can press H to hide everything, or you can just go over here and from here you can just select this eye and just turn it off. Now let's add our cursor. So in order to do that, you can either model it out on your own or you can use an SVG file. So I will put a link in the description from where you can download this SVG, and after that you can import it in Blender by simply going to File, just click on Import, and from here select Scalable Vector Graphic, and after that just select the file which you just downloaded and click on Import. Here you can see that it will import the cursor just like this. Now let me just quickly scale this up, something like this, so that you can see it out. First we are going to convert this into a mesh, so you can see that it is curved right now. So in order to do that, just select this, press F3, now search for convert and just select the convert to mesh. Now we are going to move its anchor point or the origin point to the center. So in order to do that, just select this, go to object, set origin, and let's set origin to geometry, something like this. Now we can set both the X and Y value to 0 so that the cursor is in the center, just like this. Now we can also add some depth to this. So in order to do that, we can select this. Let's go under the modifier, and from this one I'm going to add the solidify. And from here, if you want to increase the thickness, then you can just simply add this, something like this. But for this one, I'm going to just add a little bit, something like this. So here you can see we have our cursor. Now we can probably enable all of these, something like this. And let's select the cursor and press S to scale this up, just like this. Now we can just place it wherever we want, and let's rotate it so that it looks like our cursor is about to click on this. So you can just go inside the camera, and it's completely up to you. You can just play around with these values, something like this. Perfect. So we will animate this cursor later on. Let's for now focus on this. So we are going to start the animation. For that I'm going to quickly open up the timeline, and I'm going to select this, and let's give it a very nice angle. So it's completely up to you. You can just pick whatever angle you want. And for this one, I'm going to just put it to somewhere around here. Perfect. So once you're happy with this, you can just move the timeline indicator, and I'm going to set this to somewhere around 30 frames. Now you can just simply right click, click on insert keyframes, and let's do the same thing for the location as well. So once you have inserted the keyframes, we can go back to the very beginning. Now we can select this, and I'm going to quickly move this down. So let's place this somewhere around here. Now you can just right click and let's click on insert keyframes. Now you can see that it will move up, something like this. And in the beginning, I'm going to just quickly set these value to 0, this to 0 as well. And for the Z value, we can just subtract negative 360 from this so that we have a complete rotation. After that, you can right click, insert keyframes. So now if I play back, here you can see we have this text coming up, something like this. So let's tweak this further and make this more interesting. So in order to do that, we can just select this, and now let's change this to graph editor. So let's go under this and let's change this to graph editor. You can see that we have a bunch of different curves. Now just click on normalize to see everything in the frame. Perfect. So we are going to change the look of these curves, and for that I'm going to quickly select all of these endpoints. Now you can press S, X, and let's scale this along the x-axis completely, something like this. Now we can do the same thing, and I'm going to select these keyframes, something like this. Now you can press S, X, and let's press 0 so that it will scale this down. Now you can see that we have this sort of curve. So that means if I play it, you can see that it will shoot up very quickly and then it will slow down just like this, which is exactly what we want. Now we are pretty much done with this animation, and let's start animating our cursor. So in order to do that, I'm going to quickly enable this cursor. Let's go out of the camera by pressing numpad 0. And now let's select this, and I'm going to select the cursor, and let's move it so that it is touching the subscribe button, and just move it however you want. You can also press numpad 7, and you can do this from the top view. something like this. So here you can see our cursor is somewhere around here. Perfect. So once you're happy with this, we can select this and you can press I to add keyframe for location, and after that you can just move it somewhere around, let's say 10, and here you can see we have the cursor. Now we can just move it outside the frame. So in order to do that, just simply press G and just move it outside the frame, something like this. So here you can see that our cursor is somewhere around here. You can just play around with the values from here as well. After that, just simply press I. Make sure that your indicator cursor is on the location. Just press I so that it will add the keyframes. So here you can see our cursor will move in, something like this. Now again, we have to do the same thing with this curve as well. So I'm going to select everything, then press S and X, and I'm going to just scale this up completely, something like this. Now I'm going to select these endpoints, then press S, X, and let's press 0 so that this will look something like this. Now if I play back, here you can see that our cursor will come into the scene quickly. But if you don't want this, then you can also do one thing. You can press S, X, and you can just increase its value so that it will come in something like that. So here you can see that our button will come in and then our cursor comes to the location. Now our next step is to add a click animation. So in order to do that, let's go out of the camera, and for the click animation, all we have to do is just simply select the cursor. So you can see that we have the pointer over here. Now I'm going to just move it to somewhere around 40, and let's go to the location and press I to add the keyframes, and let's go to somewhere in between. Now I'm going to just move this value so that this goes inside this, and it looks like we are clicking, something like this. Now you can right click and let's click or insert keyframes. So here you can see we have this very subtle clicking animation, just like this. Now let's animate the button as well. So in order to do the clicking animation, so for that I'm going to select this, and we are going to use the Z space, something like this, to add the clicking animation. So again, for that, let's go to the 30 frame, and I'm going to right click, insert single keyframe, and you can see that our click goes somewhere around 35 frame, and over here I'm going to just decrease its value, something like this. So here you can see that the clicking is occurring. So now we can right click, insert single keyframe, and let's go back to 40, and from here I'm going to set this to 1 back again, right click, insert single keyframe. So here you can see we have our text, and here you can see we have added the clicking animation. Perfect. So now our next step is to change the text as well. So from subscribe, I'm going to change this to subscribed. So in order to do that, we are going to do a couple of things. So first, I'm going to just simply select our text, which is over here. Now you can press Shift D and just click. So you can see that we have created another copy. And on this one, I'm going to press Tab, and I'm going to just add D at the end so that our text says subscribed. Now you can press Tab again. So here you can see we have both the text of subscribe and subscribed. Now we are going to do the switching animation. So in order to do that, let's pick a point where we have the click animation. So somewhere around here, we want the transition. So in order to do that, first I'm going to select the text, which is the subscribed. So I want this to be visible only after this frame. So in order to do that, I'm going to just move to 35. And over here, I'm going to go to the scale, and let's press I to insert the keyframes. And now we can move one frame before at 34, and I'm going to set all of the scale values to 0, something like this. After that, make sure to right click and just click on insert keyframes. So here you can see that we have the text invisible, and after that it will comes up something like this. So we have to do the same thing but in reverse order for this text. So over here you can see that we want this to be visible till now. So for that, right click, just insert keyframes, and at 35 we want this to disappear. So I'm going to set the scale to 0 for all of these, and let's right click, insert keyframe. So here you can see that our text comes up. So right now subscribe is visible. So as soon as we click, the text changes to subscribed, something like this. So here you can see we have created the clicking animation for the subscribe. Now our next step is to do the same thing for the like as well. And for that, we are going to do a couple of things. So first I'm going to select this, and let's keep on animating it. So once the click has finished, we want this to start rotating. So you can just click over here and you can add little bit of more space, and you can add the timeline panel over here just like this. So now you can see that our text comes in, and after clicking we can just start animating its rotation as well. So let's go to somewhere around here. Now we can select this and let's pick a point somewhere around here at 40. So I'm going to select the rotation and let's press I to insert keyframes. Now we can zoom out and let's go to somewhere around 60, and I'm going to just give it a really nice spin. So for that I'm going to just add 360 to this, so plus 360. Now you can right click on insert keyframes. So here you can see we have this click, and after that it will start spinning just like this. So for that we are going to change the graph again. So let me just quickly open this up, and I'm going to just focus on the Z rotation, which is over here just like this. So now if I select the Z point, in order to do that we can probably hide all of these. So let's hide everything except the Z rotation just like this. So if I click, you can see we have these handles. So I'm going to just select this, press S, and I'm going to scale this, and let's select this, and I'm going to just scale it along the x-axis, something like that. So now if I play back, here you can see we have this very fast animation. But if you want, you can just select all the keyframes and then you can press G and just move it to somewhere around here, so that we have this very smooth animation just like that. Now we can tweak this. So let's select the keyframe, press S, and I'm going to just increase the size of this curve so that it becomes more smooth just like this. So now if I play back, here you can see we have this very nice animation just like this. So over here we are going to change the text and we are going to replace it with like. So in order to do that, again I'm going to select this and I'm going to press Shift D to duplicate this, and I'm going to select this, press Tab, and for the text again I'm going to change this to like. Then you can press Tab again to go out of the edit mode, and on this one we are going to do the same thing that we did earlier. So you can see that at this point our text is not visible. So let's pick a point. So somewhere around here we can just simply remove all the keyframes first. So right click, just click on clear keyframes, and after that we can just simply right click and click on insert keyframes. And just before that, somewhere around here we can set the keyframes value to 0. So let's set the scale to 0 for all of them. Right click on insert keyframes. So now our like text is not visible, and right after here you can see that it will come up something like this. So now we have to do the same thing but with in the opposite direction for this text. So first I'm going to right click and let's click on insert keyframes, and let's move a single keyframe, something like this. Now I'm going to set all the values to 0. Right click, insert keyframe. So you can see that our subscribe text will go away just like this. Now I'm going to also scale the button down because the like text is little bit smaller. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pick a point somewhere around here. Now I'm going to select the button instead of the empty. So we are going to just make the button smaller. So in order to do that, I'm going to select this. Now we can animate its scale along the x-axis to make the button smaller. So for that, right click, let's click on insert keyframes, and now let's go to the somewhere around here. Now you can just make this smaller to something like this. After that, right click on insert keyframes. So now if I play back, here you can see we have the button and it will shrink down just like that. Now our last step is to just animate the cursor to match the movement. So after subscribe, we can move our cursor back. So I'm going to just pick somewhere around here, and I'm going to just let's go out of the camera by simply moving it out. So let's pick any point, something like this. Now you can just move it using these points, or you can just go inside the camera by pressing the numpad 0, and it's completely up to you. You can just pick whatever point you want, something like this. So after that you can right click and just click on insert keyframes. So here you can see our cursor will click and then it will go back, and somewhere around here we can just make it go back to its original position, which was over here. So in order to do that, I'm going to just select all these keyframes and let's press Ctrl C, and once it has moved to somewhere around here, we can just press Ctrl V somewhere around here so that it will go back to its original position, just like this. But if you want it to stay over here for some times, then you can just simply select all the keyframes, press Ctrl C, Ctrl V, so that we have little bit of gap over here. So our cursor will stay right here. Again, we can select this and let's move it further apart, something like this. So here you can see our cursor will click, go back and stay, and then it will come back to its original position. Now we can again play around with the curves. So I'm going to select everything. Now let's zoom in and I'm going to select these, press S, X, and let's increase the size. Let's select this, press S, X, and I'm going to increase the size as well. So now our cursor will go back just like this. So after it goes back, again we have to do the clicking animation. So for that I'm going to just move it a little bit ahead, somewhere around 75. Let's move this to the side. Again I'm going to select this and just move it along the y-axis so that we have this clicking animation. Let's do it somewhere around here. After that we can just right click and just click on insert keyframes. And then we can go back to somewhere around 80. And after that we can select these keyframes and press Ctrl C, Ctrl V so that it goes back to its original position. So here you can see we have the second click animation, just like this. If you think that this is too fast, then you can again select everything, press G, and you can just add some distance between them so that this will make it smoother. So let's go inside the camera and let's see what we have created so far. So our text comes and we have this clicking animation. Now let's animate the scale of this button as well. So over here you can see we have the cursor. So I'm going to just simply select this. So right click, insert single keyframe. And now we can just simply move this couple of frames ahead. So somewhere around here, you can see that we have the clicking animation. So now I'm going to select the empty and I'm going to just, let's go out of it, and we are going to just decrease the Z space to mimic the clicking, something like this. So right click, insert single keyframe, and as it goes back somewhere around here, now I'm going to just simply set this to 1 and right click, click on insert single keyframe. So here you can see we have the second clicking, just like this. So after clicking, we want the mouse to go back out the frame. So in order to do that, let's select this and let's go to somewhere around 105, and I'm going to just simply go inside the camera and let's move it out. So let's move it out the frame, just like this. Again right click, click on insert keyframes. So now if I play back, here you can see that our cursor comes out and then it clicks and it goes back. So here you can see we are pretty much done with everything. At last we want the text to go out of the frame as well. So in order to do that, I'm going to just pick a point somewhere around here. Let's select this and I'm going to insert keyframe for location, and let's add keyframe for rotation as well. Now we can go back to somewhere around 10 and I'm going to just move it down, something like this. Now we can right click, click on insert keyframes, and we can also add 360-degree rotation to the Z space. Let's right click and click on insert keyframes. So here you can see that our text will go out just like this. Now if you want, you can go inside the graph and you can just tweak this further. So let's select this, press S to scale this up. Let's select this, press S to scale this up, something like this. So here you can see we are pretty much done with all the animation, just like this. So our last step is to add some lighting and texture. So let's quickly do that. For that I'm going to just quickly click and let's join both of these areas, and I'm going to change this to shader editor. Now let's change the rendering engine. So for that you can go under the rendering option. From here you can either select Eevee or cycles, both of them works. For this one I'm going to select Eevee, and after that let's enable ambient occlusion. Let's go under and enable the screen space reflection. Let's uncheck the high res, half res, and after that we are ready to add some lights. So in order to do that, you can press Shift A. Let's go and let's add a light. Let's add an area light. So here you can see we have the light. So press Z, and I'm going to move this to the top. Now you can press S to scale this up. Let's go to the rendering view. So let's select the end one, And after that, we don't want any kind of color in the background. So for that, we can go under the world tab, and I'm going to set the strength to 0. Now I'm going to go under the light option, and I'm going to increase the power to something like 1000. Now let's change this to timeline for now. So here you can see we have the very nice lighting on top. Also, let's go under the shadows, and from here make sure to enable the contact shadow so that we have this very nice shadows behind our text, just like this. Now the lighting setup is completely up to you. You can also use an HDRI. So for that, you can just simply, let's change this to something like shader editor, and from here let's change this to world. And on this one, I'm going to just simply press Shift A, and let's search for environment texture. After that, you can just plug the color into the color, and strength I'm going to set this to 1. Now we have to pick the HDRI. So for that, just click on open. Now I have already downloaded couple of them from Polyhaven website. I will put a link in the description from where you can download these for free. So let's select this Brown Studio. Just click on open. So here you can see we have this very nice HDRI in the background. If you want, you can play around with its strength, something like this. Now if you don't want the HDRI to be visible in your camera, so for that you can go under the settings. Let's go under the film, and from here just check the transparent. So now you can see that HDRI is not visible, and we can probably play around with the light as well. So let's go out of the camera, and I want this to act as a backlight. So in order to do that, I'm going to press G, Y, and let's move it somewhere around here, G, Z, and let's move it to the top. Now I'm going to press R, X, and let's rotate it so that it falls on our button, something like this. Let's go back to the camera, and now we are ready to add some materials to this. So for that, let's switch this to object mode, and now I'm going to select the base first. Let's go to the material tab. Let's click on new, and on this one I'm going to call this red, because we are going to make this red. So let's select this, and I'm going to just select the red option. You can go to the RGB, and you can set everything to 0 except the red. So here you can see we have the red color. Now there are a couple of things that you can play around. So for example, we can decrease the specular if you want to have more highlighted red. You can also add a little bit of metallic texture, just like this. If you want, you can play around with the roughness. You can make this completely reflective, or you can add a little bit of roughness, just like this. Now let's add the color to the text as well. So for that, I'm going to select the text. Just click on new, and let's call this one text. And for this one, I'm going to just make this white. So for that, let's make all of these RGB to white, just like this, so that we have this white text. Now let's select the cursor, and on this one, I'm going to just remove the material by clicking on this minus. Let's click on new, and let's call this cursor. Again, on this one, it's completely up to you. You can pick whatever color you want. I'm going to make this white as well. So let's select all of them to 1. So now we can add a little bit of timeline. So let's click and drag. So let's set this to timeline so that we can move around. Now our next step is to animate the color. So in order to do that, I'm going to just pick a point somewhere around here. So you can see that as it clicks, I'm going to animate its color. So let's pick a point. So somewhere around here, I'm going to just select the base and make sure that your cursor is on top of the base color. Then you can press I, and you can see that it will add keyframes. Now you can move one frame ahead somewhere around here, and from here you can change the color to white. So let's set all of these RGB to 1. Now again press I so that it will add a keyframe. So here you can see that it will change the color as we click. Now we can change the color of the text as well. So for that, I'm going to select the text. And on this one, we are going to do the same thing, but in opposite order. So first, I'm going to insert a keyframe for the white color, and let's move one frame ahead. Now I'm going to change the color to red. So let's remove everything. And now we can press I to insert keyframe. You can see nothing has changed because we have to apply the same material on all the text. So here we have this text. So all we have to do is just simply select the text material, which we just created. Now it's completely up to you. You can just again play around with specular. You can just make it less so that we have the text visible. So here you can see our button comes, and after clicking, it changes its color. And we can do the same thing over here as well if you want to change the color here as well. So let's pick a point somewhere around here. So let's move it to one frame behind, and now I'm going to move my cursor to the base color, and let's press I to insert keyframe for the color. Let's move one frame ahead, and I'm going to change this to blue, something like this. Now again move to the color, then press I to insert keyframe. So here you can see that our color will change after it spins, something like this. So this is how you can create these kind of subscribe animation. Now again, if you want, you can use the cycles rendering engine as well. So you can just change this to cycles, and instead of CPU, just change this to GPU compute. Now this will give you a little bit better result as compared to EV. For example, you can see that it will give you very nice shadows behind our text, but it will also increase the rendering time a little bit. So once you're happy with this, you can just change the max sample. So I'm going to set this to 64. Make sure denoise is checked. And after that, you can go under the rendering options. And from here, you can set the frame rate. So if you want to render it at 30 frames, you can just set this to 30. And the end frame, we can just pick somewhere around here. So at 110, you can see that everything goes out of the frame. So I'm going to set this to 110. After that, you can just simply set this to RGBA if you want the transparent background. Let's change the color depth to 16. Compression, we can set this to 0. Now you can pick a location where you want to save the file. And once you're done with this, you can go to render and just click on render animation. And after that, it will go through each frame and it will save a sequence of frames, which you can combine to create a video file in Blender or in After Effects, whatever software you have. So this is how you can create these kind of subscribe button animation. Now if you want the stock video file of this animation, then it is available for free. I will put a link in the description from where you can just simply download it and you can just use it on whatever video you have. But if you want the project files, those are available on my Patreon page. And if you're supporting me over there, then you can download it from there. And if you're not, then you might consider it because you will get access to the tutorial project files and exclusive templates that are available only on Patreon. So with that being said, my name is Abhishek and I'll see you in the next one.